Hey, what's up YouTube? Down the smartphone guy coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to take a look at the Kingwear GV68. So as you can see, this is a smartwatch. You can pick this up on gearbest.com, which is where I got it from. Now they actually sent this out to me for review, so this is a review unit, but this is the actual one that you would get if you were to pick it up from them. It's $53 at the moment. That is the full retail price, but I believe that they will probably be running some deals on it. So when they do, go ahead and check out the links down below because there will be coupon codes available for this watch at that time. So we're going to go ahead and talk about what all this thing has to offer at that price point and whether it's something worth considering for you if you are maybe somebody who is looking for a more basic smartwatch. I'm definitely going to call this a pretty basic smartwatch. But obviously it has a more active look to it. So here it is on gearbest.com. So again, $53, the Kingwear GV68. It is IP68 waterproof, which is a fantastic feature. I did use it in the water at a water park earlier today and had no problems with it. Obviously it's still working just fine after going through some sprinklers and things like that. I did not take it fully submerged underwater, but I will probably take them at their word, since that is definitely something that they show that is a main feature of the watch. So you can see that they claim that it's able to go 3 meters underwater. So obviously could go swimming with it. So let's talk about some of the features that it has to offer. So 1.54 inch TFT screen, that's a 240 by 240 pixel resolution. You can see here that the hardware, not a whole lot going on there. So we have 32 megabytes of RAM, 32 megabytes of ROM. So certainly not the latest and greatest in terms of specs for sure. So this is a pretty basic smartwatch. We'll talk about what the functions as we go over the watch. Battery capacity is 360 milliamp hours. We'll talk more about that as we get into the watch. Now it is compatible with both Android and iOS. And before we get too far, I'll go ahead and show you that here is the app that you will use it with, and this is an app that actually you can download directly from the watch. So if I go into the watch and go into some of its features, so under, where is it at? Here it is, app. So hit here and there's the QR code for the app that you're going to use, whether that be for Android or iOS. So it's called Fundowear, and I've reviewed a couple watches with this as the companion app. And as you can see, it kind of is a hit or miss app, honestly. About 5 minutes ago, it was working perfectly, and right now it's kind of not working at all. So kind of, I don't know, it's a hit or miss app. And that's definitely one of the reasons why I have a hard time giving a full recommendation for this watch, because Fundowear has always kind of been an app for me that just is not the best. But maybe they'll improve it, but at the moment I gotta say that it's certainly not the world's best app. So that's how you're going to get the app. We'll talk more about the app maybe a little bit later. But let's go ahead and jump into the watch. So settings wise, we have a few things here. So Bluetooth settings, that's just going to turn the Bluetooth on or off. And then visibility, you'll want to turn that on when you initially pair the watch to whatever device you're going to pair it to. So you'll need it to have that visibility on. I'm just going to keep it off for the moment and slide that off to the side. So if you slide to the left, that's going to actually go backwards. So the clock is basically, it's just the clock watch face type. So we can go ahead and go in here and switch the watch face type. There's a couple ways you can do this, but you can see some of the watch faces that it has to offer. Definitely more of a sporty watch in terms of the watch faces. Really the only one that's not sporty look would be this one, but those are all you get. You're not going to get any other options there. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into this one here. And the reason why I want to get into that one is, I'll show you in a second, because this one actually shows you the battery percentage. So right now I'm at 50% battery, and with that 50% battery, that's a full day of usage. So you'll definitely get easily a full day, probably a day and a half. I was using it pretty heavily today. Obviously I've had the screen on a lot, just kind of messing with it. And so definitely a day, possibly 2 full days of usage depending on your personal usage, but I would say probably for the most part you should be able to get at least a minimum of a day. Now another way to adjust that watch face is if you're on the watch face itself, you can just hold down and then you can see that you can kind of swipe through them there as well. So few different options in terms of watch faces, but certainly nowhere near as many as you would get on, a full Android Wear watch or even an Android 5.1 watch. So those are a few of the options that you have. Now let's go ahead and talk about the hardware, because we haven't really done that yet. So I will say that for me, hardware is definitely one of the better features on this watch. So we have just a single button there. So that's going to be your home button, and also the one that's going to turn the watch face on or off. So if I swipe into some of the apps, if I just hit that, it's going to go back to home, so back to the watch face. The bands themselves are super, super comfortable. I really like to wear this watch. I wish that it had more options in the watch, because the watch is super comfortable. I might end up stealing these bands off of it and placing them on one of my other watches, but in comparison to like my Polar M600, this is a full Android Wear watch. Now, this watch here costs $300, so there's a drastic difference between the two. But in terms of the actual size, you can see roughly around the same size, but this actually has a larger screen. And I'll say I actually like the screen on this one a little bit better. This one only has a 1.15 inch screen, so kind of a smaller screen for such a large watch. But this one is, I'd say, pretty comfortable watch to wear. So we already talked about the button. It does have that heart rate sensor, so I believe there's just a single. There might be two on there. I'm not exactly sure. It looks like there's actually two optics there. And then we have our pogo pins to charge it, and this is the charging cradle that it's going to sit with. So actually, that's not the right one. That's for a totally different watch. Where did I put it? Here it is. So it's going to use a pretty basic magnetic connector here. So there it is. So it's just going to connect on like that. And on the other end, you have a USB to charge it. So there we go. All right, so set that off to the side. And then we have a speaker and a microphone, so you can use this for phone calls. Obviously, it has to be connected to your phone, and really that's the only way to use this watch. It's a Bluetooth tethering watch. You can see that there is no place to put a SIM card or anything like that. This is a watch that you're going to use completely as a tethering watch. But actually, this Polar M600 is also a tethering watch, so I actually prefer that personally. I don't actually use watches as standalone watches very often. And usually it's just to demonstrate them. That's really about the only reason I use them that way. So let's go ahead and jump into the software itself. So we already talked about a few of the settings. So we did sound, so you can control the volumes here. The display basically is going to allow you to just control the brightness and then also the screen timeout. So go ahead and slide that off to the side. International is just going to change your language, so you can change that in there. And then units, you can change it from imperial to metric. So I'm from the US, and so imperial definitely is the way to go for me. We have some motion options. Whoops, jumped in the wrong one. Some motion options, so we can flip to mute for incoming call, flip to mute alarm, and some wake up gestures. So the wake up gestures, you can see, is the only one that I have turned on, and what that's going to do is allow you to flip it to turn the watch on. And then it does have apps here. I'm not exactly sure why, because I don't really know of any apps you can actually get on this watch. And again, there's only 32 megabytes of storage, so I'm not sure how you'd even fit any apps on here. So there's the settings, so you can make some phone calls like I mentioned, so you can go into the dialer, make a phone call. I did test that out and it actually worked very well. So if for some reason you wanted to make a phone call from your watch, personally that's just not my cup of tea, but it is an option that you have there available. The phone book actually is a little bit disappointing because it doesn't actually sync your phone. So like I've tried it a couple times and I cannot get it to sync my phone's phone book, unfortunately. I'm not sure why that's not working. The call history does work, and messaging works just fine as well. There is no keyboard on here or anything like that, so messaging allows you basically just to see your messages. Health app, this is obviously one of the key features here, so we do have heart rate. The heart rate seems to be pretty decent. I will say that as long as you're wearing it on your wrist, I'm going to try it with just my finger right now. See if that'll actually work. And it usually picks it up relatively quickly. There we go. So that's about right. 66, that seems pretty accurate to me. So my resting heart rate's around 50, so 66 would be just about right for while I'm doing a video sitting here. So pedometer, of course, that one works. Now, one thing I'll mention about the pedometer, and that should be a key feature of this watch, unfortunately, if I could get that FundoWear app up on my phone, it would show you that, like yesterday, it said that I did 5 miles of walking and like 14,000 steps. But that was definitely inaccurate, so it's not going to work. But that was definitely inaccurate because I went for a 6.2 mile run and at least a 2 mile walk. So it was definitely off in terms of that. So that's kind of another reason why I have a hard time recommending this watch, because the pedometer just isn't that great. The sleep monitor definitely worked really well. It was dead on in terms of my sleep. And then the sedentary reminder is just going to let you know, it's just going to be a reminder that you need to get up and walk. So that's a key feature on a lot of watches like this for active watches. So I just have it set at 60 minutes. And so then it'll just give me a little vibration to let me know that I've been sitting for too long. So go ahead and slide that off to the side. So the remote actually works quite well. So you can use it as a remote camera, Bluetooth music, and then the anti-loss. So the capture, basically, you're just going to come up here and it should connect with your phone. So let's see if I hit capture. Okay, so it's actually supposed to open up there we go. Okay, so it worked that time, and then I'll hit capture. There you go, and that worked just fine. So that it took 2 tries, but it did work. Bluetooth music is just going to allow you to control the music on your phone. It doesn't actually have any music on the watch, and there's really no way to put any music on the watch. So that's basically just going to use as a remote control for your phone or whatever it's connected to. And then anti-loss, of course, is going to be anti-loss for your device. So that's the remote. In terms of tools, basically we just have an alarm, calculator, calendar, and stopwatch. All those work just fine. The calendar, I will say, is kind of weak. Basically, it's just it tells you what today is, and then you come in here and it gives you a calendar. That's it. It's not really like an actual calendar. You can't like put items in there and tell it to remind you of anything. So it's just a basic calendar. Notifier, this is definitely so it says sync failed. It's obviously having trouble connecting to the phone for some reason, and I think it's because of the app kind of crashing at the moment, because if I come in here, it shows that it's connected. So okay, that came up. So now it's actually working here. So it worked for like 2 seconds. All right, forget about it. But the notifications this is true of every FundoWear app watch, and the notifications just are really kind of lame. Basically, what it tells you is, like, let's say, for instance, I have a Gmail. So notice that I have a Gmail. I have a message in Gmail. Basically, all it's going to tell you is that you have a Gmail message. It won't show you any information from the actual notification. It's just going to say Gmail. And that's about it. It's not going to let you look at it, no details. So that's really kind of not very useful in my opinion. It'll tell you have a Facebook message, but it won't actually show you any of the message. So not super useful in my opinion. So Bluetooth, you can see that you can just select which phone you have it connected to. So at the moment I have it connected to my Moto Z2 Play. And then the app. So that's pretty much it. So do I recommend this watch? Well, obviously you can see there's a lot of issues. Number 1 being the app itself. Number 2 being the pedometer. In terms of the design, I love the design of the watch. I wish that it would work better, honestly. If the pedometer was accurate, if the app itself, FundoWear, was a better app, I could recommend it, but at the moment for $50, I just cannot recommend this watch. Unfortunately, it's more frustration than it is anything else. Hardware-wise, it's a great watch, but software-wise, it's just kind of absolutely terrible. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I want to recommend a couple other watches. So I have up here in Chrome a few other watches that I've really liked and worth mentioning. So the Xiaomi Amaze Fit band, that actually is a GPS sports watch. Now you can actually get it for $103. If you're interested, I'll go ahead and you can hit me up in the comment section because that is a fantastic watch. That actually has GPS built in, and you can actually the functions work very well on that one. Notifications are great. The Xiaomi Amaze Fit Arc. This is another. This is basically a similar watch to what this is. The difference being that that one is much more accurate, and you can see that one's only $43. And then this is actually one I have coming. It's not actually released yet. This is the Xiaomi Amaze Fit Lite. So take the Amaze Fit. This is the Amaze Fit Pace, and basically strip it down, get rid of the onboard storage for music. So basically there is no music, but you can see it's not available yet. This one's going to be right around $60, and it has GPS built into it. And from the Amaze Fit record, from Xiaomi's record, I think that these watches have been fantastic. They've all worked very well, and they're all accurate. So I would probably recommend, like, if you're looking for a nice GPS active wear watch for around $60, I would say that Amaze Fit Lite might be the greatest option. And like I mentioned, as soon as that one's available, I will be reviewing it. It should be just in a week or two, probably very soon. But overall, I just cannot recommend this GV68. Unfortunately, I would love to say that it's a great watch, but in this case, I just can't recommend it. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and leave those down in the comment section. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next video.